Hi guys, so going to play some more early Genesis today. It's early, but it's also the last album from the last album that Peter Gabriel was singing on. That's "The Lamb Lies Down" on Broadway, and in fact, it's the title track. So I believe that this was written by Peter Gabriel and Tony Banks mostly. Peter Gabriel with the lyrics and Tony Banks with the music. So let's bring it up and see what we think. Browse on. Okay. Paste. And okay. Bring it down.
Broadway street scene finds a focus in its face. Somehow it's lying there, brings a stillness to the air. Though man-made light at night is very bright, there's no whitewashed victim as the neons dim to the code of white. White sees gone, he's forgotten what he did, and the land lies down. On Broadway, Suzanne tied her work all done, thinks money, money, me. lights down on Broadway, on Broadway, on Broadway. You see the lights are always bright on Broadway. On Broadway. You see there's always magic in the Broadway. On Broadway, always bright on Broadway. On Broadway.
Okay. Yeah, that's The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis, the last album from the last album that Peter Gabriel did with them. I think it's refreshingly accessible and still sounds good so many years later. Later on, after he'd left Genesis, Peter Gabriel used to sometimes play it himself with his band, and there is at least one example of a show he did where he sang it on YouTube, so you can look it out if you would like to, and that's a really good rendition too. It's great actually. Everything goes together wonderfully well. I believe that Peter Gabriel wrote the lyrics and Tony Banks the music. Banks said somewhere it was the last song he wrote together with Peter Gabriel, and it's it's good that it was such a great one. This is a really catchy song, and personally I like it a lot. Um, Sometimes it's interesting to think about the similarities between Pink Floyd and Genesis. Well, Genesis is definitely in the progressive rock field. I have some doubts about really whether you can say Pink Floyd is, because they're just such great musicians and they make such great music that kind of doesn't easily categorize. Uh, but another difference, if you want to see some similarities in terms of progressive rock, you probably could. Um, but I think a difference is that Roger Waters' lyrics for Pink Floyd are consistently of a higher standard than uh, Peter Gabriel's, really, for Genesis. And it wasn't only him writing the lyrics. Banks and Rutherford wrote a lot of lyrics too. They're quite good, a bit hit and miss sometimes. Um, like in Supper's Ready, I think there's a line something like, "We go hand in hand, that's alright," followed by "gland in gland." Well, what does that mean? Gland in gland? I'm sure that Roger Waters would have thought of something better than that. It just probably good for the rhythm of the music and the rhyme. But some of Genesis's lyrics are a bit lazy, and you feel that they're just writing for the sake of writing. Whereas at their best, Pink Floyd, especially Roger Waters, you feel that it's always something very specific and meaningful. But anyway, this is not really about Pink Floyd. It's about Genesis. But I'm just saying that the lyrics are sometimes good and sometimes not so good. In this case, they're fine because it's a simple kind of song. This album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, follows the pathway of someone who is trying to make it on Broadway, and he's a tough, rough kind of character, and just different scenes from his activities at this time. Some really good songs on the album. I would advise anyone who's interested to check it out. And it was a really good album for Peter Gabriel to finish his time with Genesis with. It's one of their best albums, I think, for sure. Um, Often people put Selling England by the Pound at the top, and then maybe this album next after that, or sometimes this album is considered the best. Personally, I like Foxtrot a lot, but yeah, they're all good. Those three albums, all very fine albums, and better than the stuff that came from Genesis later. Great, so I hope you enjoyed this song and this reaction. So if you did, hit the like button and consider subscribing. So thanks a lot and see you next time.